Hey everybody, it's Stacie Duffy here, your Denver Metro real estate resource, and I'm still sporting my red, white, and blue Murica here for the 4th of July, so sorry I'm extra festive. I wanted to address a concern that I get from buyers a lot of times, mostly first-time buyers, but buyers in general, is what's the best way to address inspection concerns? So I strongly recommend getting a home inspection. I know some people in a crazy seller's market, they will waive the inspection. I wouldn't ever recommend that unless you know exactly what you're getting yourself into. If it's a condo complex that's fairly new, if you're an investor or you're in a general contractor and you know what you're looking at, maybe. But as a general rule, strongly recommend getting an inspection. So it's really common for a buyer to, have an inspection performed on the home. There may be a, hopefully small note, sticky note list worth of action items. Sometimes there's a laundry list, but there's usually some things that need to be addressed or the buyer would like addressed. Now, let's have a come to Jesus minute here. If you're buying, single family home, for example, really common. If you're buying a single family home that is not brand new, it's not going to be perfect, okay? For those who have ever owned a used car, which I would hope most people have, but I know there's some people fortunate enough to never have that. But it's like, I compare it to buying a used car, okay? You're gonna have some door dings, you're gonna have a small chip in the windshield, it's not gonna have brand new tires on it, it's going to need some maintenance. So keep that in mind and be realistic, okay? Don't expect a 30-year-old home to have everything completely perfect as if it were built yesterday. So having realistic expectations is step one for your inspection. But as far as, issues that may come up, if there are small repair items or even larger, repair items, a lot of people don't want to have to do anything when they get into a house. I get that. If you can afford to, buy a new house. You won't have to. But for most people, I know it's nice to, have the seller fix things for you and just move on, but remember guys, the seller is not going to be living with the fixes, okay? So whatever you ask them to fix and they have fixed, they don't have to live with that fix. So I would hope most sellers have wonderful integrity and do a good repair job or have a good repair job done, but sometimes if you're very specific about how things are done or how things are repaired or who does the work, it may be a better option to ask for a seller credit. And I'm a huge fan of this. I talk to all my clients about it. Of course, it's their choice. They're the decision maker. But if it's, a small 5 or 6 handyman type list, okay, maybe ask for a few $100s as a credit, a seller credit, and then they essentially credit you those funds at closing. So that's less money you bring to the closing table, and now the money that you have to go pay that person to do that work. Because sellers don't want to fix stuff. If they're selling their house and they haven't fixed it, it's because they probably didn't want to deal with it. So don't ask them to fix it. Unless you're in a crazy buyer's market, you can ask for anything you want. But it's usually a win-win for, the buyer to ask for a credit and then they can have it fixed, one, if and when they want to, and two, by whom they want to. And then it also works for the seller because then they're not stuck fixing things. They can just give you a credit at closing and everybody moves on down the road. So remember to, one, be realistic with what your expectations are of the home, given the age of the home, maintenance, all that type of stuff. Obviously, if it won't last 6 months before, $20,000 is put into it, that's a different issue. But have some realistic expectations, and then to consider having the seller credit the buyer some money. And if you're on the sell side, consider that as well. If there's repairs you just don't have time or don't want to do, be prepared to provide a seller credit for those things. Or, if the buyer wants them repaired, maybe that's the only way to negotiate moving forward. But just something to consider. So anyway, if you have more questions about this, please feel free to reach out. You can comment or question down below or reach out to me directly. My contact information is on my website. The link for that is down below as well. So thanks so much for the time and have a great day. Bye-bye.